Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show, highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyles, community, and neighborhood. And now, from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Hey, good morning, and welcome to the, the first summer show, All Things Moore County. Dorothy.
Yeah, I think you're right.
7 years goes by so quickly, and it seems like every year the years get faster and faster. But we are now really officially into summer, and the kids are leaving and getting out of school for those who still have exams this week. And we want to turn our attention to a topic that we have had on the show in the past, but it's a very relevant topic, and it's one that, as the summer season comes upon us, it's a chance for rediscovery of one of the greatest gifts that Moore County has to offer, and I'm talking about the Weymouth Center for the Arts and Humanities. Last year, we had a couple of shows on the Weymouth Center, and one of them was focused on their first concert series, Sounds on the Ground, and very successful. And we're going to be speaking today with the new executive director of the Weymouth Center, Robin Smith, new board president, Catherine Talton, and the young affiliates chairperson, Skylar Crowder. Skylar, your last name has changed.
It has. I recently got married.
Okay, it wasn't just from the show. It just happened.
It just happened.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
You were on last year, and you were talking about some of the summer programs that the Weymouth Center offers. But the big picture, Catherine, was there was a lot to talk about what the Weymouth Center is, what it means to people in Moore County. And you were good enough to get the show coordinated with Julia Brockmeyer from More Choices, who does a great marketing job, and she's a terrific catalyst for a lot of groups.
She is, and she's been working with us for some time, first as a volunteer, and now we use her More Choices as a wonderful outlet for getting our information to Moore County.
Yeah.
She also works with us on our website and our Facebook page, and she's been an outstanding young professional within the community that has stepped forward, which is a changing demographic for us at Weymouth.
Not a shameful plug. You know why? Because I use her too. Her expertise expands beyond, it's business, it's social activities in town. Moore County and Southern Pines in particular is becoming the place of choice for so many reasons. Robin, you've been the new executive. Well, good morning, first of all.
Good morning.
How long have you been the new director at the Weymouth Center?
It's 3 months. It's hard to believe, 3 months.
Well, you have an interesting story, and I think this would be the best time of the show to give a little bit of background, and not only how you got here, but what your tie is into the Weymouth Center.
Well, the Weymouth Center, I remember as a young girl, a very young girl. I was holding the hand of a man that loved it passionately and did his best to get funding to save it. And that was my grandfather. And I used to be his date at all the events. And I just remember seeing this grand, white, spectacular building.
Right.
And it was so big and so beautiful.
Like magic.
Like magic.
Yeah.
And it was a calling. It kept presenting itself. Do you want to take this opportunity and go and participate in helping promote Weymouth, have events, and are going to bring in a younger demographic? And I just followed my heart. I said, I have to go back. My grandfather would be so pleased.
And who's your grandfather?
Sam Reagan. I guess I left that part out. Yes.
Yeah. Well, so for a lot of people in Moore County, they will know exactly who Sam Reagan was. But what about all the people who have moved here in the last 10 years who wouldn't know him? Can you tell me a little bit about who your grandfather was?
He used to own the Pilot, and he also was the Poet Laureate of North Carolina. And he, until he passed away in '96, and he also started the Literary Hall of Fame at the Weymouth Center. And he was just very passionate about North Carolina, Moore County,
Right.
And the arts. And he saw a real need for the arts. And coming back here after so many years, it just amazes me how much programming there is going on. I mean, every night and
Right.
every weekend there's something, an event.
So you grew up here in Moore County?
No, actually I did not.
Oh, you did not. But you came to visit your grandfather.
I would visit. I was here for 1 year. I went
Okay.
to Wallace O'Neill for
Okay.
grade 5.
Okay.
But other than that, no.
Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Vancouver, Canada,
Okay.
and then I moved to Los Angeles. So more West Coast, but my heart's always been here.
So what is it about Southern Pines that, as his granddaughter, you had magical remembrances of the Weymouth Center, but Southern Pines still holds a special place in your heart that you have now later on in your life made a commitment to come here and establish roots. What is it about Southern Pines that does that?
It's interesting because so many people have come up to me and said, "Why?"
Uh-huh.
And I've said back, "Why not?" I mean, it's just so beautiful and so exciting
Right.
and alive. And I was nervous at first because I did have a memory of, to be honest with you, a lot of seniors back in the day.
No,
and
that's perfect. That's exactly correct. That's one of the things we're going to talk about today, how that's all
Right.
changing.
It really is, and it's so exciting.
Yeah.
And that's the young affiliates are, our spokes group, I have to say. Yeah.
What? It's so you moved here. You have you honor your grandfather's memory and what you do. What kind of experience? What have you done? I'd love to hear your background.
Well, in Los Angeles, again, the arts and humanities. My last job was at the Music Center, which is famous for the Academy Awards, hosting the Academy Awards, the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. And I worked in development, and that incorporates the LA Phil, Center Dance Arts. It was all about theater, music, changing the demographics as well there, because downtown Los Angeles did not really exist for so long. And so what we were doing was taking the downtown area, the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, and creating an interest for the public in coming and actually going to events there.
Yeah.
So very much what we're doing at Weymouth on a much larger level,
Right.
trying to change the demographic.
So now that you're back, it's probably no surprise to you that this show has had topics. We've spoken with the many schools, the Sandhills Classical Christian School, EDS, O'Neill. Schooling, education has become one of the hot topics in Moore County, both politically and in preserving the best lifestyle, because we're drawing in so many young families. It's not your grandfather's Southern Pines anymore.
And it was a wonderful Southern Pines. It was wonderful then. But would I want to say, I'm excited about going back to be amongst a senior community? I would have said no. But like I mentioned, coming here and seeing how much it's grown, it's just amazing. It's just amazing and exciting.
Let me throw a question out to the table and see if whoever wants to respond. Is it safe to say that restoring and bringing back into focus the Weymouth Center is something that is consistent with trying to preserve the arts and the humanities as school budgets have been cut, as new children are moving into town? What does the short-term and long-term future, what would you like to see the Weymouth Center stand for here in Moore County? Catherine?
I think the thing that's so outstanding about the Weymouth Center is that we are the cultural center of the Sandhills, and we do serve our community, and the thought process that we serve our community and therefore the community will come to us is really where we're going. as the demographic has changed, we also need to serve different age brackets. So we've enacted a series of new programs, one of the most outstanding being Authors in More Schools, AIMS, which is a collaboration with the Country Bookshop, and Angie Talley is our chairperson there. The objective is to bring authors directly into the schools with books. It used to be that if you had an author come in, only those children who could afford the books would get them.
Mm-hmm.
What Angie saw was that there were so many children that don't have books and that needed books.
Right.
So our program funds entire classes, entire grades at schools. The author comes in, we have personalized list of the books. They're assigned directly to the kids. The authors speak with a whole fifth grade at a time, say, and each child receives a book. So we're trying to actually make ourselves relevant to families and children and give back. That is one of our, I think, really outstanding programs. We also have a program coming up in August, which is our Right On Camp, which Robin will talk more about in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But we're trying to bring families to the grounds as well. It's such a beautiful place.
It is.
And we see children out there playing almost every day, and people taking family photographs, walks through the woods, looking at the beautiful gardens that our dirt gardeners maintain for us, and maybe even just going to find the oldest longleaf pine.
You know, I have a sister. She's a financial writer in New York City, and she's quite accomplished. And she's my kid sister, and every time she comes down to visit me, we walk over on the grounds. And the little girl in her comes out, and all those indelible impressions that she had as a kid with her dad or with me. There's the Weymouth grounds are completely magical. It's like a movie set, and it's open to the public. I don't think people know that.
I was going to say that. I think a big thing, speaking for the younger demographic, is that when you look at this house, you think it's a private establishment.
That's right.
And a lot of people are like,
Stay away,
or, you know, it's funny, when I first came on board, I would talk about the things I'm doing at Weymouth, and I'd be in downtown Southern Pines, and they'd say, where is that?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's the big white house up on the hill, essentially, like walkable distance. And, you know, one thing I always like to tell people, and it's actually not my slogan, it's Vivian Jacobs, who came to speak to us. She did a series, and it was called Weymouth is My Home Away from Home. Right. And I think that is so key, because a lot of the younger adults who are coming to the area are not from here. It's not their home. And they're looking for something to tie them into it. And Weymouth was that for me. And I think it is showing that for so many people, our numbers have just doubled in membership. Yes, it is a public house, but what funds the house is membership. So definitely our younger demographic, why would they want to join?
Right.
They want to join because they want to be a part of all the programs that we have to offer, which that is what you get in it.
Right. There's a rich history with James Boyd, with the Weymouth Center. Because this area is steeped in history, which unfortunately some people have no clue about. They just think it's beautiful. But when did tell me how the Weymouth House started, its origins?
I guess I'm starting. James Boyd was the grandson of the original James Boyd, who purchased the land. And he was a best-selling novelist in the 1920s. He wrote what is considered to be the best Revolutionary War novel ever written still today. And he had this group of literati friends that were just amazing. They moved down from the Northeast. They built this fantastic property. His brother built right across the street at what is now the Campbell House. They started the Moore County Hounds, so that's why we ride today and hunt today, still today. But he was such a lightning rod person. His friends would come to visit, and his friends included Sherwood Anderson, Paul Green, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and they weren't a stuffy crowd. These people had fun.
Thomas
Wolfe
on the grass. Many stories of Thomas Wolfe.
Is that right?
Passed out on the grass. Yes.
Or climbing through a window at night because he got to the house late and it was locked up, so he just opened a window, climbed in, and passed out on the sofa.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, so it was a fun crowd. And I think the thing that we have to remember is that these people were dynamic.
Right.
They started the newspaper, they worked on preservation of the longleaf pine, but they also did things like bringing electricity to streets and paving, funding hospitals, starting the Civic Club. They were involved in the Southern Pines Country Club. They even had their own 9-hole golf course on their own property at one point. So this was a very rich time at that point. And they also helped start Weymouth Heights. Their friends would come to visit, and they said, wow, this is a great place. We want to live here, too. So they owned all the property, and they started developing the property. So all those beautiful homes sitting up there, and the way Southern Pines looks today, that's the handprint of the Boyds, and it continues today. So we have a direct literary history that has not stopped since the time of James Boyd, down to our writer-in-residence program today and the North Carolina Literary Hall of Fame.
What you just said was excellent. I don't think if you took the time to write that out, to present it.
She's amazing
that
with that.
Was just natural and from the heart, and I don't think you could edit it to make it sound any more compelling than you just did. The Weymouth Center is open to the public. It's a great gift to the residents. The house has a very civilized, peaceful way about it. It's very stately. They're telling me 1 minute, but that's okay. The grounds are peaceful. You can walk them on a Sunday afternoon. They're botanical gardens. It's sort of like a Biltmore House light, if you will. And it's just it's like a Currier and Ives postcard that's frozen in time.
It is. And it is open to everybody. People can come to the house. We have a self-guided tour that you can walk through the house, except for the rooms that the authors are in, because they don't really want to be disturbed. That's why they're there. But the house is open, the grounds are open, and there's always somebody who's happy to speak to whomever walks through the door.
We're going to come back in the next two sets. We want to talk about the Weymouth Center today, some upcoming events this summer, and its relevance in 2016 and future plans. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back.
There's always something happening, and it's usually quite loud. Our mum, she's so house proud.
Welcome back to the second set of All Things Moore County. We're talking all day today about the Weymouth Center, and I wanted to reflect back in the first set, Robin, when you spoke about your memories of the Weymouth Center with your grandfather. You can't see this because this is radio, but you were it was touching. Because you had an indelible impression that will never leave you, and about your grandfather and about your memories. And when I moved here in 1999, I didn't know Weymouth from a hole in the wall, and I was the luckiest guy in the world because I wound up purchasing a home right next door to the grounds, not knowing. I was just lucky. And when I go home at night and I leave in the morning, I drive by it every day, and it is really like a Rockwellian portrait of Americana. Mm-hmm. And I can hear weddings. I can hear events that you have going on outdoors just a couple of weeks ago.
Do you hear the horses that we have now?
My sister is always wanting, when she comes down, that's what she always wants to do, to go see the horses. But it's such a privilege to live there, so close. Last summer, we talked about an event that's coming up again, which I know you want to talk about, which is Sounds on the Grounds, which was a 3-part concert series. And Catherine, was I right? Was it reflecting the music of the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s last year?
Yes, it was. Last year we decided to go with themes, which was a little different than what we decided to do this year.
Okay.
But it was a lot of fun because people really seemed to be drawn to the genre of music that was popular when, say, they were in college or in their early 30s.
Right.
However, we had kids as young as in arms, and we had people in their 90s also enjoying it. Mm-hmm. So the draw wasn't necessarily the genre. I think it was being outside on the lawn in that magical space,
right, with
music playing and people just having fun and kids running around dancing in front of the stage. So it was a lot of fun, and I think it didn't really matter what the genre of music was.
What is a change up this year? Because it starts, I think, June 23rd.
Yes.
Skylar.
It starts June 23rd, and a really easy way to remember it is it's the 4th Thursday of every summer month.
Okay.
So it's June 23rd. We have Liquid Pleasure coming back again, who I absolutely love, right, and they just bring so many people to the grounds. I know when we first started this, I was saying to myself, I just want 200 people to show up.
You had many more than that last year.
We had over 1,000.
Right.
I would say average 800 for each event, but I was like, if just 200 were to show up,
right,
I would be happy. So now, this year, I hope for over 1,000 for everyone. So the first one is Liquid Pleasure. The second one is July 28th, and that's Falcon Velvet, which is really cool. That's headed up by Baxter Clemens. So he is a local...
He's so shy, though. I worry about him in front of a crowd. Baxter, he's got some issues.
He has, tons of issues.
Oh, my gosh.
I just adore him and all the guys. Yeah. And I've used them before at events, and they're just awesome. So, I like to be able to use local as much as I can. So they're going to be on the 28th of July. And then August 25th, we have Johnny Folsom, which is really cool. They're a Johnny Cash cover band. So this year we didn't do, the set 70s, 80s, 90s. We kind of did more cover bands. And that's always what we look to do. We love to have music that people can sing along to and dance with and enjoy.
Right.
I'm really excited about the Johnny Cash cover band.
Right.
Because they are also going to do country, but I just think it's something we've never had before.
Right.
We've done we've done Motown, we've done 90s and 80s hair bands and things like that. So this we've never had before. So I think it's going to bring another group of individuals who've never been to Weymouth before and enjoy that as well.
Yeah, I think you're smart to open up with Liquid Pleasure because, no, seriously, this group has a following statewide that is unheard of. I back in 05 or 04, I became familiar with them through an affiliation I had, which was Dysfunction Junction. But the good news that came out of it was I got to see Liquid Pleasure live. They're an unbelievable band, and they will appeal to every generation. So if you get the people coming in the first time, and it's the first time they've seen the Weymouth Center, it might guarantee even larger crowds for the second and the third.
Yeah. Hopefully they will. I know that when they came last time, it was at the end of the year, and we had probably about 900 people come out for that.
Yeah.
One thing that we're doing differently again this year, we did learn a lot last year. There was a lot of positives, and there was also some learning curves.
Sure.
This last year it was hot. I mean, summer here is always hot. So this year we're pushing it back. Doors open at 6:30, but the band doesn't start till 7, and it's actually going to go till 10. So we noticed last year when people would come, they'd come later, and they'd stay later. So we ended at 9 or 9:30 last year, but people just were really revving up. You know, Thursdays during the summer are really Friday Eve.
That's right.
I hope everybody's ready for the weekend and to have some fun. So that's why we pushed it back a little bit, and hopefully that will help with the heat. We were very lucky with the weather as well.
Yeah, it was. I remember last year, a couple of friends of mine were volunteers, and they loved the music. But they all said, "Oh my gosh, it was just stifling hot last year." But moving it back is a great idea, and you have a whole new audience that you're advertising to this year. What I really like about, I love Southern Pines. I mean, if people have listened to me, but I also love the fact that an institution like that is doing so much to remain relevant and timely. For all these changing demographics, and that's one of the greatest gifts. This summer is such a great opportunity to introduce all the younger people to the Weymouth Center. We didn't talk about cost for the sounds on the ground.
Absolutely. So this year we are doing, our biggest thing that we try to tell people is, yes, this is a free place for you to come to Weymouth, but membership is huge. So we are doing membership versus non-membership pricing this year because we want to encourage individuals to become members and get a discounted price.
Right.
It's $5 for members and $10 for non-members. And also with any ticket that you purchase, it gets 2 children in for free.
You're not charging enough, but that's why I'm shaking my head.
Yeah, no,
the prices are, that's $10, even if you're a non-member, is for 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours, a great social networking opportunity, the Weymouth Center, and great music. We can't put a surcharge on there, can't we? No. But it's so reasonable.
And one thing we also do, too, for the community is we have community tables at the event. So individuals, for example, RWB, they're a local nonprofit organization who uses fitness to help vets. So they have a table there, and it's kind of a speaking point for them to tell the community what they have to offer.
Right.
Or another example was Sandhills Farm to Table. So we definitely welcome in the community to use Weymouth as a platform to share what they have to offer as well, which I think is important. We have food trucks, we have beer and wine being sold. It's a really awesome platform for everyone.
A bigger picture in our world today, in our politics today, where the federal government is not there for a lot of local entities like they used to be, and we've had lots of conversations about the public school system. There's nothing wrong with an institution like the Weymouth Center trying to be viable and attract members at such reasonable prices. Everyone has to think outside the box, and they have to think locally. Otherwise, no one is going to be there to help Moore County. But the citizens of Moore County have a very solid reputation for always supporting one another. This is just a great time, and yet you're also doing a good thing. So you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
We try.
And it's been really great for us as well because we've seen a rise in membership.
Right.
We changed our membership pricing, so we have a junior membership now for younger families because it is, a tight environment financially. So we've got a junior membership level, and then we have a regular membership, a family membership. So we're trying to make it more relevant to younger people. I think a lot like country clubs tried to do a while back. They needed younger members.
Well, and so the argument could be made that some of the country clubs missed the boat.
Right.
I do have a question. This is a marketing question. Does the Weymouth Center have any relationship in the community with the private schools where they are going out to reach out to the schools to introduce them to the Weymouth Center? Because I have a feeling that could be a great niche.
I think the one main reach out that we have is the Moore County Writers Competition, which reaches out to all ages within Moore County, but we specifically target for the school-age kids. We send letters directly and emails to the teachers at all the schools, private and non-private. We even have a large reach into the homeschooling network here.
Smart.
So that has been a really outstanding. We had hundreds of applications for the competition this year. And we also had a lot more adults that competed, which was outstanding. The Young Musicians Festival that's held every year also reaches out to schools of all ages and children who study instruments through different teachers. But I agree, we do need a broader reach, and we're trying to find programs that bring them to us. I
think it might be something that could be a win-win situation, both for the schools and the students and for the Weymouth Center and the new families. Before we get into the third set, we're going to come back to Sounds on the Grounds, but it's going to be the last Thursday of each month, June, July, and August. Ticket prices are $5 and non-member prices are $10 for 3 great evenings, and I loved how you phrased it as a kickoff to the weekend.
Friday Eve.
And I remember last year looking at Facebook and looking at all the crowds and the pictures, and you bring your own your own chairs, your own seats. It's like a picnic. It's like you're going to the beach, but you're really not. Maybe on your website you probably have some pictures posted of last year's event.
We do have pictures posted, and it's such fun to look at them.
Yeah.
We even allow friendly dogs on leashes.
On leashes.
On leashes.
Okay.
And as long as your dog is a friendly fellow, bring him along as well.
And you bring your own bags.
Right. What is the website address of people if they want to go onto the site to look at?
WeymouthCenter.org.
WeymouthCenter.org. And all the events, which we're going to talk about in the third set, will be featured on the website.
All of the events are featured on the website, and we have links to articles. So there's more in-depth on each event. And there's also contact information and where you can buy tickets if there are tickets to be sold.
And a Facebook presence?
Absolutely. We're on Facebook, we're on
Instagram
Twitter.
is in the works now as well. Twitter.
Yeah, I have a feeling this year you're going to get a much stronger attraction to these concerts. I think your attendance is going to shock you. Last year was great, but I think this year is going to be better. You don't want to be shocked, do you?
No, I want to be. I'm welcoming.
Shock me, right?
Shock value.
Yeah.
We're going to come back talking about the Weymouth Center in 2016. We're going to be talking about some of the summer programs and go back and talk a little bit about Sounds on the Grounds, which is coming up in just a few short weeks. This is All Things Moore County.
Nothing ever slows her down, and a mess is not allowed. Our house in the middle of our street. Our house in the middle of our house in the middle of our street. Somebody tells you that you've got to in the middle of our. Father gets up late for work. Mother has to earn his shirt. Then she sends the kids to school.
We're too busy
something happening, and it's usually
We're
quiet
too busy
now.
texting to hear what she said.
She's so house-proud.
Ta-da.
Okay.
Nothing ever
We're back.
slows her
This
down.
is I'm being given a hard time, Dorothy. Skylar, you were chastising me for texting, but we're gonna talk about what texting. People couldn't text if they didn't know how to write. Right? We're going to go back to the origins of that this set. We're talking all about the Weymouth Center. We talked a little bit about the upcoming concert series, Sounds on the Grounds. But there are other events going on this summer, which we do want to cover and talk about. And as a youth director, or youth affiliates coordinator, are you the marketing arm to get that new generation into under the wing of the Weymouth Center?
A little bit.
You can text me the answer, and I can announce it.
Don't tempt her.
No, just text it to me. It's fine.
Well, it's funny. I'm like the worst texter ever. I talk text,
Okay, yeah.
and we all talk text, and sometimes it comes out.
You talk text.
We talk text
We
because
do.
I'm a
absolutely.
terrible texter. I really don't like to do it. I'd rather call someone, which
Okay.
I know you're like
Right.
rolling your eyes that I would do that. But
I'm impressed.
so many of my generation, like the best way, for example, like I'm trying to change the poster right now
Okay.
to send to the printer for Sounds on the Grounds, and the best way is to text the person who's doing it. So I'm like, pushing it along. I think social media is big, especially Facebook for the community because everybody uses it. But I still think Moore County biggest advertisement is word of mouth. It just is. No matter how hard you try, everybody is a referral base. So that is really what gets us the most attention.
Word of mouth. I made a comment earlier in the show that I described the Weymouth Center as being very civilized. So to me, very civilized means that people can communicate. That means they can communicate eyeball to eyeball, that they can talk, that they can. It's not an electronic conversation. It's not a snippet or a quick sound bite, and people are just passing emojis along. They're actually sharing almost like a time that's gone by. But part of the programs that you are earmarking for the summer, you're trying to preserve that time that's gone by with the writing, the skill set that kids need.
We are. We have a wonderful program that's designed really to target that. It's called Write On Camp. And it's a silly pun, but it's a great program for grades 3 through 5. And it's the first week of August, the 1st through the 3rd. It's a half-day program where students actually get to work with professional writers who coach them in workshop-type environment on poetry, fiction. They even go, and I think this is a great thing that they do, they take a walk through the woods. And they learn to observe and practice the skill of observation, not on their phone, but without their phone. And then they come back and they take the spirit of what they've seen, what they feel, what they noticed, and put it into words on paper. And it's a really outstanding program. And the nice thing, too, is that we have the parents come at the very end. And the kids get to choose one of the pieces that they've written, and they feel really proud. And they perform. So not only do we use words on paper, but we learn to speak them in front of people and present them.
Right. Huge. Could I stand in front of the Weymouth Center that day? They come in and hold a bag to collect all the kids' cell phones that they're off. They just can't come into the grounds with them, and they get them back when they leave.
I like that idea.
I'll do it.
I've actually seen classrooms that have those old-fashioned shoe racks, the vinyl ones that used to slide your shoes on a door, and they say, drop your phone in here, and then you can pick them up on the way out the door.
My administrator's grandson, he's 6 years old. When he comes into the office, he goes right to the computer and he sits on a video game. And he's a cute kid. He's very articulate, and we talk. And I say, "Hey, Jason, how are you?" "Hi." And you hear the sound of the keyboard. And I go, "Jason, shake my hand." So he puts his hand out to shake it, but his eyes are still looking at the screen. I go, "Jason, eye contact." So now every time I shake his hand, he makes it a point to stop everything he's doing, and he's very dramatic. And he looks at me, he opens his eyes, get people to be in touch with one another. It's hard.
It is hard. And we had last week, we had a showcase for Pinecrest Speech and Debate Team.
Right.
The kids that were going to nationals.
Right.
And I have honestly was so amazed by the talent of these juniors and seniors in high school. It was riveting, truly riveting. It brought tears to your eyes. And some of it was so funny, and some of it was very moving, and one thing was even a debate that was so fascinating. I felt like we should have to vote on which side won at the end.
They're putting themselves on the line. Peggy Taphorn from the Temple Theater was here a couple of weeks ago, and she has some summer programs where the kids come up and they get to act. They get, without their cell phones, in front of people. And kids build self-esteem when they get feedback that way. And there's not a whole lot of self-esteem when you're on an electronic device, although there is actually, but it could be negative because people can Facebook messages and hear things, or people can be anonymous, and that anonymity can encourage maybe more aggressive behavior.
I will share it was a very useful tool, though, at the celebration for the winners of the Moore County Writers Competition.
Okay.
We had a couple of kids that came that won. If you're a winner, adult through age 6, you get to spend 5 minutes on a podium and actually share part of your work. And several had forgotten to print their work out and bring it with them. So luckily, I could bring it up on the email they sent me on my cell phone, and they could stand at the podium and read from the cell phone. So it was
It helped.
It did help. I was surprised, but it did help.
Okay.
I have to say, though, in fairness, at all of our events that we have, all of the younger events for all ages, at the Heritage Fair, it's not like everybody was on their phone.
No.
I mean, everybody is interacting with everybody, meeting new people, or it sounds on the grounds like they're entertained and they're talking these social events. I don't see people on their cell phones. I see photos the next day of having a great time, but it's not like a silent party.
That's right.
Right.
Good to know. There's just so much that the Weymouth Center has to offer. You're also doing in conjunction with the Olympics this year, you're doing a South American...
it's a tapas.
Helmet, yeah.
And I do want to say that's tapas, T-A-P-A-S, because somebody once said topless. And I said, no, that's not what we're doing.
We don't want that
Do
demographic.
that. So it's an annual event, but this year's theme is South American cuisine in honor of the Olympics in July. So it's small plates and wines that pair well. And it's on the grounds. There's stations set up. The house is open. Both sides of the yards are open. So you get a sense of what it must have felt like to live and entertain there at that period of time. And we're going to have adult games as well. I think we're having cornhole and a couple of other games set up this time. And it's July 14th from 6 to 9. Okay. And it's just a really fun event. It's not a member event. I mean, it is for members, but we really encourage the public to come out and get to use a bad pun, perhaps a taste for what Weymouth is like.
Yeah. Member events versus non-member events. What does it take somebody who wants to become a member of the Weymouth Center? And it's not just tied into an event that they go to, but if somebody wants to go on the website, what kind of information can we share about a membership?
They can go on the website and register through the website,
right?
Or they can call the office directly, and we can process over the phone. But we like to encourage people to actually come in and do a walkthrough, because there's so much history to not just the grounds, the building, and it seems to excite them when they're actually physically there and hearing the stories and going into the past. So there are so many ways to get in touch with us, but the website would be quickest.
Is a membership, is it an annual fee? How does that work?
It's annual, and it's set by the month that you join. So it rolls from month. If you join in March, your annual membership is up the following March. We send you a letter, and we're just in the midst of our new membership campaign.
Okay.
We will have membership brochures at all of the Sounds on the Grounds events and at every event this summer, as well as having them, if you walk in the main entry and you just want to grab a brochure, we've got that there for you as well.
And whether you're a member or not, somebody could go over to the Weymouth Center and talk to, I guess, your marketing person. You can have a wedding there. You can have business meetings there. Could you have can you do catered events there?
Absolutely.
Really?
Catered events. We have a lot of photographers using the property as well.
Sure.
But again, all of the information is on the website, and if there are any specific questions, call the office. But it's really nice to just come down in person and see it.
But it's a wonderful space because you can do a wedding, you can do a cocktail party, you can do a shower or a birthday. You can rent the whole house downstairs, or you can rent portions of the house.
Right.
And we're a great site for business retreats and business meetings because we've got rooms in so many different locations within the space, as well as what we consider to be our outdoor rooms. We have different areas of gardens. So you could have a group that breaks into 5 pieces and be indoors, outdoors, come together in the great room. It just offers a lot of flexibility. We even have schools that come and do weekend retreats with us. So it's a really wonderful space on a lot of levels.
Mm-hmm. A lot of weddings planned this summer?
We have a lot of weddings, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And our big season, wedding-wise, of course, is spring and fall because
Right.
it's, so many people like to use the outdoor space as well as the indoor space.
Right.
But there are weddings regularly and of all sizes, which is nice. Some people like to use the space down by the water garden to set up the chairs and have an outdoor ceremony, maybe use the indoors as their reception space. And other people want to put up a huge marquee tent and light it up and do an evening under the stars.
I'm meeting a friend of mine in her 4th grade where she just got out of 4th grade, and she's very precocious. And I'm going to try to get them to come by because I don't think they have been.
Oh, wonderful.
And they live here in Southern Pines. And and she's it's amazing to me how girls in 4th grade, if you compare them to boys in 4th grade, it's like 2 different planets. They're completely like in a different parallel universes. Girls will just absorb it, and boys, they're not quite ready yet. That's the nicest way to put it, I guess. But I hope you guys have a lot of kids coming through with parents this summer.
And we have a wonderful box that was given to us full of games that'll be out. I think we're going to have it underneath the covered patio by the garden room. And Sky, you can talk to the organization who gave this to us.
It was actually given to us by the Moore County Leadership Institute, which is headed up by the Chamber.
Right.
They donated cornhole games, hula hoops for anybody to come and use.
Right.
So those will be out at Sounds on the Grounds this year, and we thank them. We thank anybody who helps out and volunteers.
I'm anxious to see what happens this year with the Sounds on the Grounds. It should be. You guys must be excited because after your first year, now that you've readjusted the times, the anticipation should be great.
It's crazy. With Heritage Affair, I feel that we are a little late in the promotion of the first event in June. It has self-promoted itself,
right.
which is awesome and scary at the same time.
Right. Because
you're like, oh my gosh, how many people are really going to be here this year? And we welcome everybody. I hope it's an awesome celebration and,
but
it doubles the number.
Social media has really, really helped your message. And the people that I know who volunteer there, it's interesting. They all seem to me like they're catalysts in the community.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And
our volunteers are so loyal, so dedicated.
And they know so many people. They're networkers, so
wonderful.
They bring people in. June 23rd is just a couple of weeks away. And I'm going to watch the temperature, make sure you spoke to God and just made sure that the humidity was down.
We do like this special rain dance.
Yeah. You send him a text. Right.
We do. I text him, I hashtag it, I say, please don't rain.
What do you hope for in the next 5 years as you look at the Weymouth Center? What are you hoping to talk about? Robin, I'll ask you that question.
My goal, my personal goal and my intent on coming here is to see younger children involved. I want to see Easter programs where we have the kids running around looking for Easter eggs and wanting to learn about the literary side of Weymouth and want to discover the arts and humanities. I also want to see dance, a representation of dance brought in, which I don't believe has been represented yet at Weymouth. I'm a strong advocate for that. I'm actually meeting with somebody next week to discuss some possible programming. And the big thing, and this is what we were doing at the Music Center in Los Angeles, is trying to bring in cultural diversity as well. Not only in people attending Weymouth, but the type of programming that we're going to be providing to appeal to all different cultures and demographics. It used to be seen, I believe, as a sorority house somewhat, and we're pulling away from that because it's not at all about that.
The more you get the message out and the more people get over there and involved in events, the more they'll see that there's an open door and it's open to everybody, and it's a gift that they can take advantage of, and it's right here in their backyard. I'm going to remember the show for the memory, Robin, that you provided in the first set. When you talked about your grandfather, you had that little girl look in your eye, remembering him. I don't know if you noticed or not, but talking about the times you spent there with him. How old were you when you were recalling that?
Gosh, am I going to be dating myself
Second grade, third grade?
I lived here in grade 5. So
okay, grade 5.
Yeah, so I'm not going to tell you how long ago that was.
You don't have to. Very impressionable age.
But it was just such a big, grandiose place with so many people who loved it and so much potential, and I can't even put into words. It's like going back to grade school as an adult.
What would your grandfather have to say if he were here today, seeing you sit here and talk about where you are right now?
He'd be telling me, "Don't be nervous. It's only a radio show." He would love what we're doing because that's what he wanted for Weymouth. He wanted it to be open to everybody, and he wanted it to have diversity. And he'd be very pleased to see the direction it's going.
You guys are welcome to come back to the show anytime. We think the Weymouth Center is such an important part of Moore County. We're going to close with, I guess, a number from Liquid Pleasure, who will be appearing at Sounds on the Grounds on June 23rd. They're an exceptional group, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, UNC basketball coach Roy Williams is a big fan of theirs, and I think he's in this clip. But before we do that, Skylar Crowder, Young Affiliates chairperson, it's good to have you back.
Thank you very much for having me.
Love your enthusiasm, and I'll text you later. Catherine Talton, new president, you're taking over at a very exciting time.
It is a very exciting time. I think we're getting ready to leap up into the future in such a big way, and we are so excited to have Robin on board joining us.
So do I. I agree with you. And Robin Smith, it was a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise, thank you so much.
You all have the chance to be a difference maker, and the timing is right, and consistency is important. And if the Weymouth Center has all that, it's going to be hard to keep it down. Hope to see you at Sounds on the Grounds in a couple of weeks, and we'll say goodbye and listen to Liquid Pleasure as we leave. Have a great week. Thank you.
Kenny, I love your band, you and Liquid Pleasure. What I love about you guys, the music that you play, I know all the words to.
I never met a girl who makes me feel the way that you do. You're alright. Whenever I'm asked who makes my dreams real.